This is the end of the first Perek of Maseches Pirkei Avos, Perek Aleph Mishna Yud Gimel. Apparently there are different divisions of where Mishna Yud Gimel begins, but here's where we are. Huaya Omer. Nagad Shmei, Hillel would say, Nagad Shmei Avad Shmei. Someone who looks for a big name for himself, who wants a popularity or a reputation, Avad Shmei loses his reputation, because ultimately it will become clear to people that he's only interested in his own name. La Mosif Yasuf. Anyone who doesn't add, presumably to his Torah learning, Yasuf will decrease his Torah knowledge. Udila Yalif Kat Lachayav. And someone who doesn't study is responsible for the loss of his own life. In other words, it's integral for your life to be Yalif. Yalif can be interpreted to mean to learn, or it can be interpreted to mean to teach. Someone who knows Torah and has the ability to share it with others, but refuses to do so, is undermining the purpose of his existence. Udi yishtamesh b'taga chalaf, and someone who uses l'hishtamesh, to use the crown of Torah, chalaf will be cut off, will fade away. In other words, someone who uses his stature as a Torah scholar just for his own personal advancement, for honor or for money, really reduces the meaning of it and will lose his honor that he has previously earned. The next Mishnah, Huaya Omer, Hillel would also say, Im ein anili mili, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? Ucheshani la'atzmi, but if I'm only for myself, ma'ani, what am I really worth? This is the tension that we exist with, where we need to take care of ourselves, whether it's our physical needs or our spiritual needs, because it's our own responsibility to take care of ourselves. There's no one else who has that primary responsibility. At the same time, this needs to be balanced with some sort of selflessness, that if we're only concerned with ourselves in either realm, then we lose all value and become a selfish person. We need to become selfless and sharing and concerned with others, but at the same time concerned with our own identity. V'im lo achshav, and if not now, eimatai, when will it be? If I push it off and say I'll do it later, whether it's in respect to one's own growth or in respect to taking the opportunity to help others, if we don't take those opportunities when they come, then we'll never really find them. Eimatai, when will we do them? Seize the moment, seize the opportunity to do that which is meaningful. Hillel's partner was Shammai in the next Mishnah. Shammai Omer, Shammai would say, Asei Torascha Keva. The Torah should be Keva. Keva means fixed, permanent, set, unwavering, which seems to mean that that not only should we learn a lot of Torah, but it should be the thing that's not a variable, that it's fixed, that everything else is relative to it. The Torah and the values of the Torah that we learn should inspire and inform everything else that we do in our lives. And Torah is the keva that all else revolves around. And more ma'at v'asei harbei. A person should say a little and do a lot. On the one hand, this could be interpreted in general terms, that a person should be a person of action, not of words. Also, it could mean that that when it comes to doing a particular act, don't say you'll do a lot, but don't come through. Be someone who makes modest promises, but comes through even greater than the promises. The Mefarshim point to Avram Avinu, who, when he had his guests, the Malachim, said he would bring a small amount of food, but ultimately brought a large amount of food. V'have mekabel es kol ha'adam b'sever panim yafos. That whenever you greet someone, it should be with a positive face. That the impact that you make the way that you greet someone, the way that you present yourself has a tremendous impact on them and yourself. And you should always try to greet people in a positive and a happy way. In the next Mishna, Rabbi Gamliel says, "Aseh lecha rav," a person should make a master, a teacher for himself. This we had previously, "Aseh lecha rav, u'knei lecha chaver," earlier in the Perek. Some Mefarshim understand Rabbi Gamliel to be basically repeating the same teaching. Others try to interpret it in a different way. Regardless, Aseh lecha rav, a person should have a teacher, someone who learns from and draws inspiration from. V'histalik min asafek. You should avoid being in doubt. In other words, try to figure out and find out the real answer, and don't live with doubts, if possible. This is connected to the Rav. You should have someone who you learn from, and if you're not sure, don't just live with it, but ask someone else, and don't be hesitant to show others that you don't know the answer. V'altar bel la'aser omdos. And a person should not generally separate maaser in estimations. Here it's an interesting halacha that maaser, 1/10 of our produce which is given to the Levi, is supposed to be exactly 1/10. Unlike truma, which can be given a little more, a little less, there's no exact amount which it must be. Maaser is exactly 1/10. So we should try as hard as possible to give it exactly 1/10. If you estimate and give a little less, certainly that's problematic because you didn't accomplish the maaser and the food is still not able to be eaten. If you give a little more, potentially there can be a problem as well that only the 1/10 has the effect of maaser. But in general, the Mishnah seems to be saying that we should try to do things precisely when that's called for. Shimon beno Omer. Shimon, the son of Rabbi Gamliel, used to say, Kol yamai gadalti ben hachachamim. All my days, I was among the chachamim, my father and I guess his friends. V'lo matzasti leguf tov el shtika. I never found anything better for the body than quiet. I don't know if he means that the rabbis in his house were always arguing and he cherished quiet, or possibly shtika refers to being quiet and listening rather than always speaking, because much is learned from people love to participate in conversations, but the one who really gains the most is the one who's quiet and listens to all the others. The lo hamedrash hu ha'ikar, and it's not the learning which is the main thing, ela hamasa, but the actions which the learning leads to. V'chol amar b'dvarim, whoever talks too much, maybe chet could be brought to sin. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer. Shimon, again, the son of Gamliel, said, Al shlosha dvarim ha'olam kayim, that the world rests on three pillars: Al hadin, on judgment; Al ha'emes, on truth; V'al hashalom, and on peace. These three, there are different ways of seeing the integration. It seems to me that din is the general principle, justice, and justice is comprised of two parts. One is emes, one is truth. That there's an objective truth that underlies the legal system, and there's also the pursuit of shalom, of peace, of compromise, of equity that should be integrated into din. A din can't be just shalom without any objective truth behind it. There must be emes, but if it's only emes without any sensitivity, then it becomes very cold and unkind. Shalom, pshara, is also a component of Jewish law, where we seek compromise and peace between people. We mentioned at the very beginning that this Mishnah seems to parallel or contradict Mishnah Beis, where we see there's three different principles that the world rests on, which is Torah, Avoda, and Gemilas Chasadim. Different Mefarshim have different ways of reconciling them. I suggested that these three, Torah, Avoda, Gemilas Chasadim, refers to the purpose of the world, whereas Din, Emes, and Shalom refer to the practical ability for the world to exist without descending into anarchy. But that concludes Pirkei Avos, Perek Aleph.